What if, in one single morning, the image you built for years collapsed like glass? Imagine waking up to find strangers outside your gate, whispering about you with a video you never made, spreading like wildfire. That is exactly how Tara's Sunday morning began. And my friend, that was only the beginning. The knock on the gate was loud, urgent, almost angry. Estate security officers never banged like that unless something serious was happening. Inside the tall white house with tinted windows, Tara Balogun stood frozen in her silk robe. Her phone buzzed non-stop with calls and messages. On the other side of the living room, her husband Richard paced back and forth, whispering under his breath. "Why now? Who would even do this?" he muttered. Tara's heart was pounding. She had not even opened the video link that everyone was forwarding to her. She didn't need to. She already knew whatever it was had the power to shatter her life. The officers at the gate knocked again, their voices carried in. "Madam, please come outside. We need to talk. There's a problem." But listen carefully. This story didn't really start on that Sunday morning. That morning was only the crash. The real beginning was months earlier, the day a stranger entered their house. Let me take you back. Back then, everything looked perfect from the outside. Tara was 34, the owner of a thriving PR agency, with glossy magazine covers on her shelves and social media followers who envied her life. Her husband Richard was a finance director at a major firm. Together they lived in a beautiful home in one of Lagos's most expensive estates. They had one daughter, Maya, just 5 years old, the center of their world. Neighbors looked at the Baloguns as an example of success. They saw the cars, the tailored clothes, the weekend trips abroad. What nobody saw was the cracks forming beneath the shine. Tara had a past she never talked about. Before marriage, she had been known as the kind of woman who could take any man she wanted. She was beautiful, charming, and ruthless when she set her eyes on someone. And Richard, well, Richard had once been engaged to another woman. Tara had walked into his life, and by the time she walked out with a ring on her finger, the other woman was left in pieces. Most people had forgotten that story. Tara had buried it under years of success. But there are some wounds that never heal, and some people who never forget. It was a Wednesday afternoon when Tara decided to hire a new maid. She wanted someone reliable, professional, someone who wouldn't cause trouble. Through her friend's recommendation, she contacted a well-known domestic staffing agency. The owner sounded polished, professional, trustworthy. "Don't worry, madam," the woman said on the phone. "We train our staff. We do background checks. The girl we'll send you is humble, respectful, and hardworking. She will not give you any problems." That was how Amaka came into their lives. She was 21, quiet, slim, with big eyes that carried both innocence and a hidden sadness. On her first day, she stood at the door with her small bag and said softly, "Good afternoon, madam." Tara looked her up and down. She didn't like hiring young girls. They were sometimes careless, sometimes a distraction. But this one seemed almost too shy to cause any harm. "You'll have your own room," Tara said firmly, pointing to the guest room at the back of the house. "No visitors. No unnecessary phone calls. You are here to work. Do you understand?" "Yes, madam," Amaka whispered. Richard barely looked at the girl. He greeted her politely, then returned to his laptop. For him, staff were invisible. He trusted Tara to handle the house. At first, everything seemed normal. Amaka woke early, cleaned, cooked, and took care of little Maya when Tara was at the office. She was polite, quiet, almost too perfect. Tara started to relax. But at night, sometimes, Tara would pass by the guest room and notice a thin light shining under the door. The girl always said she was reading her Bible, and maybe she was. But once, Tara could have sworn she heard Amaka whispering into a phone, her voice low and secretive. One evening, as Tara walked down the hallway with a glass of water, she stopped outside the guest room. The door was not fully closed. Inside, Amaka sat on the edge of her bed, holding a phone close to her mouth. Tara couldn't hear everything, but she caught one chilling phrase. "Yes, madam. I'm watching them." Especially her husband. Tara's hand froze on the doorknob. Her throat went dry. What did she just hear? She stayed there in the shadows, listening, her heart pounding louder with every second. Amaka's voice dropped even lower. Then, clear enough for Tara to catch, she whispered into the phone, "Don't worry. Soon, this madam's perfect home will scatter." And that was the moment Tara realized. The stranger she had allowed into her home was not just a maid. She was something else entirely. They say the past never truly dies. Sometimes it hides, waiting in silence until the perfect moment to strike. And when it does, it comes not as a stranger, but as a shadow. Her name was Nkem. Elegant, successful, the type of woman who walked into a room and everyone paused. But years ago, she had been something else, a bride-to-be. She had the wedding gown, the venue booked, even the engagement photos framed in her living room. The only thing she didn't have was her groom, because that groom, Richard Balogun, had walked out of her life and straight into the arms of Tara. It was the betrayal that carved Nkem hollow. Friends told her to move on, that men came and went, but some wounds dig too deep. She rebuilt herself, yes, opened a staffing agency, grew her reputation, smiled for the cameras. But underneath, her heart was a storage room for anger. When she saw Tara's name come up as a potential client, she did not hesitate. She knew this was the door she had been waiting for. Amaka was her weapon. The girl didn't know the full story at first. She thought she had been hired like any other maid. But the second day in Nkem's office, Nkem sat her down and told her the truth. "You will be working for a woman named Tara Balogun," she said smoothly. "She lives in Lekki with her husband. Your job is not just to clean, it is to observe, to report. And when I give you instructions, you follow them exactly." Amaka swallowed hard. "But why me?" "Because you need me," Nkem replied coldly. She pushed a hospital bill across the desk, Amaka's brother's bill, printed in red letters. "Balance due. If you want your brother to keep getting treatment, you will do this. If you disobey, not only will I stop paying, but I will make sure you never work in this city again." Amaka had no choice. Her hands shook as she took the cheap phone Nkem slid across the table. "This is for me only. No one else must see it." And so Amaka entered Tara's home with two faces. To Tara and Richard, she was the shy, obedient maid. But late at night, in her room, she whispered into that phone. Updates, details, anything Nkem wanted. At first, it was harmless. She reported what time Richard came home, what meals Tara preferred, how they spoke to each other. But soon, Nkem wanted more. Find small ways to confuse them. She ordered one evening. Switch appointments. Misplace things. Just enough to make them argue. So, little by little, Amaka obeyed. One Monday, Tara arrived late to a major meeting because her calendar alarm never went off. Later, she found the reminder had been deleted. Another time, she discovered a strange lipstick mark on the seat of Richard's car. Amaka had placed it there. The tension in the Balogun household began to grow. Richard thought Tara was becoming paranoid. Tara thought Richard was hiding something. And in between them, like silent smoke, Amaka stood, watching. But Tara was also watching. Ever since that night outside Amaka's door, when she overheard her whispering to someone called Madame, she had been on alert. She didn't confront her maid right away. Not yet. She needed to be sure. She needed proof. And so, though she played the role of the unsuspecting madam inside Tara's mind, every move Amaka made was a piece of a puzzle she was trying to solve. The real strike came on a Friday evening. Tara had been seen having dinner with a male client, discussing a contract. A passerby snapped a photo, blurry but damning. By Saturday morning, it was everywhere on social media. "Married PR boss caught cheating?" screamed the headline of a gossip blog. Tara nearly fainted when she saw it. She knew nothing inappropriate had happened, but in a city hungry for scandal, truth mattered less than the picture. Calls from clients started coming in. Some laughed it off, others sounded worried. At church on Sunday, she felt the eyes of women burning holes in her back. Richard didn't shout, but his silence was worse. He just stared at her, shaking his head, as if wondering whether to believe the whispers. In the kitchen, Amaka's phone buzzed with a message from Kim. She opened it and read carefully. "Well done. Now, we take it further." That night, while everyone else slept, Amaka sat on her bed, trembling. She didn't want to keep doing this. Maya, the little girl she was supposed to care for, had hugged her earlier and whispered, "I like you, Auntie Amaka." The innocence of that child's voice had pierced her heart. But then she remembered the bill, her brother's medicine, the weight of Nakum's threat. The phone buzzed again. Another message. This one sharper, colder. "Next step, get closer to Richard." Amaka closed her eyes, her chest tight. She knew what Nkem was asking. She also knew that if Tara ever discovered the truth, her life would be over. The next morning, as Amaka carried breakfast to the dining table, she glanced at Richard. For the first time, she did not see him only as her boss. She saw him as her next assignment. And somewhere across the city, Nkem smiled at her phone, waiting for the report that would finally break Tara's perfect home. In life, destruction does not always come with a bang. Sometimes, it creeps in slowly, through whispers, through doubts, until you begin to question even the people you love most. That was the game Nkem wanted to play, and Amaka was her pawn. From the outside, the Balogun home still looked perfect. The cars were polished, the curtains drawn neatly, the smiles flashed on Instagram. But inside, the walls were tightening with tension. Every day, small things went wrong. Tara's phone alarm would mysteriously fail, making her late to meetings. Important documents she kept on her desk disappeared, only to be found days later in odd places. A client once complained that Tara had sent him an unprofessional email, only Tara had no memory of writing it. One afternoon, after finishing a report, she had left her laptop open on the table and gone upstairs to check on Maya. It was only for a few minutes. By the time she returned, the laptop lid was closed. She frowned. She was certain she hadn't shut it herself, but she brushed it off as a mistake. But the next morning, the client's reply sat in her inbox. A message Tara swore she never typed. The words were curt, dismissive, almost mocking. Her blood ran cold as she read it. She was confused. Days had passed, but Tara still couldn't shake the image of that lipstick stain in Richard's car. It lingered in her mind like a shadow she couldn't wipe away. One evening, she finally confronted him. "So whose is it?" she demanded. Richard replied, "Tara, I told you, I don't know. Maybe one of your friends borrowed the car?" Her eyes flashed. "Don't insult my intelligence." Meanwhile, Amaka was drowning inside. She didn't like what she was doing. Every time Maya tugged her hand, every time the little girl called her auntie, guilt stabbed deeper. But each night, the messages came from Nkem. "Good, keep going. Next, record them arguing. We need proof this marriage is shaking." So Amaka began recording. Whenever Tara and Richard raised their voices, she quietly pressed record on her small phone. She sent short clips to Nkem, voices sharp, words angry, the sound of a perfect home beginning to collapse. The city was watching too. That blurry photo of Tara and her client at a restaurant still floated across blogs and WhatsApp groups. People whispered, people judged. At church on Sunday, Tara felt the weight of eyes on her back as she walks into the church. She caught hushed whispers and saw women lean toward each other, their smiles too sharp to be friendly. She kept her head high, but every step felt like walking on broken glass. A few days later, at Maya's school PTA meeting, it was the same story. Mothers offered polite greetings, but their eyes flicked quickly away, some with pity, others with judgment. The gossip blog headline had already done its damage. Married PR boss caught cheating. Tara's confidence was bleeding out. Bisola, she whispered to her best friend one afternoon. "Someone is trying to destroy me," Bisola replied. "Then stop looking outside, Tara. Sometimes, the problem is already inside your house." Tara smiled nervously, dismissing the idea. She had no reason to suspect Amaka. Not yet. Still, sometimes when she caught the maid's eyes lingering a moment too long, or when a small detail in the house felt slightly off, Tara's chest tightened, but without proof. All she had were shadows, and shadows could make you doubt even yourself. One Saturday, Richard insisted on taking Maya and Tara to the Palms Mall for family time. He said it would be good to distract themselves, to look normal. Tara agreed, though her mind was still heavy with the gossip flying online. Amaka came along, carrying Maya's small bag. At the toy store, Maya begged to see the dolls. Tara was distracted by a phone call from a client. Amaka bent down, whispered to Maya, "Wait for me by the teddy bears," and then quietly walked away. When Tara turned around, Maya was gone. Panic tore through her. "Maya! Maya!" she screamed, rushing through the aisles. Shoppers turned. Staff joined the search. Security guards ran in different directions. For 10 minutes, the world collapsed. Finally, a guard found Maya near the candy section, holding a lollipop, calm as if nothing had happened. But Tara was shaking uncontrollably. She clutched her daughter like she would never let go again. Richard was furious. "You were on your phone. Do you know what could have happened?" Tara's tears flowed. "Don't you dare blame me." Behind them, Amaka stood silently, her heart hammering. This had been Nkem's idea. Cause a little chaos, just enough to make them fight. She hadn't thought it would go this far. When they got home, estate security even logged the incident in their records. To outsiders, it seemed like another careless mistake. But for Tara, something broke that day. Because Tara had started watching Amaka more closely, she entered the maid's room one night under the guise of checking if it was tidy. While adjusting a pile of laundry on the bed, her hand brushed the mattress. Something was hidden there. She lifted it and froze. A small phone, not the simple one Amaka used for calls. This was different. A secret phone. Her heart raced. She pressed the button. The screen lit up. There, on the home screen, was a message notification. It was from an unknown number, saved as only one word. "Madam." Tara's hands shook as she read the message. "Next step. This week, find a way to be alone with Richard. I need proof." Tara's breath caught in her throat. Proof? Proof of what? The phone trembled in her hand. It was no longer suspicion, no longer a whisper in the shadows. It was a plan, deliberate, cruel, and unfolding inside her own home. Tara's eyes widened in horror. She realized the enemy was not outside. The enemy was already inside her house. Sometimes the deadliest snake is not the one that bites, but the one that suddenly starts crying at your feet. Because when tears and truth come together, they can destroy everything you thought you knew. Tara sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the secret phone she had pulled from Amaka's mattress. Her heart was pounding so hard she could barely breathe. The words glowed on the screen like fire. Next step. This week, find a way to be alone with Richard. I need proof. She wanted to scream, to rush into Amaka's room and throw the phone in her face. But something inside whispered, "Wait, don't explode yet. Listen first." That night, when the house was quiet, she walked into the kitchen. Amaka was standing there, rinsing dishes, her face calm, almost too calm. Tara placed the phone on the counter. "Whose is this?" Her voice cut through the silence. Amaka froze. Her eyes darted to the phone, then to Tara. Her lips trembled. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, suddenly, tears spilled down her cheeks. "Madam, I'm sorry." Her voice cracked. "Please, I can explain." Tara's stomach turned. "Explain what, Amaka? Who is this madam you've been reporting to?" Why are you in my house? Why are you watching my husband? Amaka dropped to her knees. The words came pouring out in broken pieces. She told Tara everything. About Nkem, the woman who had once been Richard's fiancée. About the hospital bills, the threats, the cheap phone she had to hide. About every instruction she had followed, from planting lipstick in the car to recording arguments and leaking small things that caused fights. She sobbed, her whole body shaking. I didn't want to do it, but my brother, he's sick. Madame Nangam pays his hospital bills. She said if I stop, he will die. Tara's knees nearly buckled. She had suspected many things, but hearing the truth out loud felt like a dagger through her chest. Nkem, the name she had buried years ago, the ghost of a past she thought was gone forever. For a long time, Tara just stood there, her hands gripping the counter so tightly her knuckles turned white. She wanted to throw Amaka out that instant, but then she remembered Maya. The way her daughter clung to Amaka, trusted her, loved her, and deep down, Tara realized something even more important. Firing Amaka wouldn't solve the problem. The real enemy was not the girl in front of her, but the woman pulling her strings. She bent down, lifted Amaka's chin, and looked her straight in the eye. Her voice was calm but cold. If you really regret this, then you will help me end it. Do you hear me? Amaka sniffled. Yes, madam. Anything you say. The next morning, Tara called her best friend Bisola and invited her over to the house. When she explained everything, Bisola gasped. This woman is dangerous, Bisola said. You can't fight her quietly. You need proof. You need to trap her. Together, the three of them began to plan. Tara and Amaka would act as if nothing had changed. Amaka would continue to report to Nkem, but every step would now be under Tara's control. They would feed Nkem bait, lure her into exposing herself, and when the moment was right, they would record everything. Tara even spoke to estate security, asking for their discreet cooperation. The officers agreed, curious and eager to help. Amaka was terrified, but for the first time in months, she felt lighter. She wasn't Nkem's puppet anymore. She was working to set herself free. The plan began with a message. Using the secret phone, Tara instructed Amaka to send Nkem a text. Madam, Richard is under pressure. He spends more time with me in the evenings. I think he trusts me now. Nkem's reply came within minutes. Good. Next, I want a picture. Something that looks close. Not too much. Just enough. Tara's jaw tightened. She wants evidence. Then we'll give her evidence. But on our terms. Later in the evening, the trap was set. Tara and Bisola took photos as Amaka leaned against Richard's jacket, draped over the arm of a chair, her head tilted just so, as if someone were nearby. The shot was cropped tightly, concealing the truth. Richard wasn't even in the room. With clever lighting and a blurred angle, the image suggested intimacy without showing it. The picture was sent. Nkem's response came instantly, laced with triumph. Perfect. I told you he'd trust you. Soon she'll lose everything. I'm coming over there now, to teach Tara a lesson. Be calm. Nkem had no idea that it was Tara texting her with this secret phone she had given to Amaka. She truly believed she was texting Amaka. Convinced the Balogun household was already cracking, she decided to take her game one step further. The staged photo had been sent, and Nkem had taken the bait. Tara's eyes burned as she read the text. This was the evidence she needed, Nkem's own words proving her malicious intent. But what Tara didn't expect was how bold Nkem would become. Tara and Bisola hid cameras in different corners of the house to capture the whole event once Nkem arrived. This would help them gather more evidence. Estate security waited silently outside. The trap was ready. But everything shifted when Richard walked in earlier than expected. His briefcase hit the table with a dull thud as his eyes swept the tense room. What's going on here? He asked sharply. Before Tara could explain, his gaze landed on the hidden phone lying on the table, the same phone used to bait Nkem. His face twisted in shock and anger. Tara, he said slowly, his voice rising. What nonsense are you planning in this house? Sometimes, the real enemy is not the stranger at your door, but the secret already sitting inside your house. And when both collide, what you thought was solid shatters like glass. Richard's eyes burned as he looked at Tara. The secret phone lay on the table like a snake between them. Tara! He snapped, his voice trembling with anger. What is all this? Cameras? Phones? Are you spying on me in my own house? Tara's chest rose and fell. She hadn't expected him to come home so early, hadn't prepared for this storm. Richard, listen to me. It's not what you think. He cut her off. Then tell me. Explain why I see my wife sneaking around with security and a maid. What game are you playing? Bisola tried to step in, but Richard's hand shot up. No, Bisola. Stay out of this. I want answers from my wife. Tara's lips trembled. She wanted to protect him from the truth, but the time for silence was over. She pointed at Amaka. Ask her. She's been working for someone, feeding her information about us, planting things in this house. She's the reason for all the chaos. Amaka's knees buckled. She began to cry. It's true, sir. I didn't want to, but Madame Kem forced me. She's been paying my brother's hospital bills. She told me to do everything. She wanted to destroy your marriage. The name dropped into the room like thunder. Richard froze. Nem. Tara's eyes widened. She saw something flicker across her husband's face. Guilt. You knew, she whispered. Richard looked away. Silence stretched. Finally, he spoke. She contacted me months ago. She said she wanted closure, just to talk. I thought it was harmless. I shouldn't have replied. I didn't tell you because I knew how you'd react. Tara's chest tightened. Her voice cracked. Closure? With the woman you left for me? The same woman who just planted a maid in my house? Richard, don't you see? By replying her, you opened the door for all of this. The trap they had carefully prepared was unraveling. Their enemy wasn't just outside. She had already slipped back inside, through Richard's hidden texts and his silence. And right on cue, the front door clicked open. And Kem herself walked in, perfectly dressed, confident as ever. Good evening, she said coolly. I heard there were problems here. Tara's fists clenched. You, after everything, you dare to walk into my house? And Kem smiled. Your house? Interesting. Tell me, Tara, how stable is your house really? Your husband still replies my messages. Your maid works for me. Your reputation is already shaking. You may have taken him years ago, but I will take everything from you now. The room exploded with shouting. Tara accused Richard of betrayal. Richard defended himself weakly. Amaka sobbed. Bisola tried to hold Tara back. Nkem stood there, calm, watching the destruction like a queen who had won. But what she didn't know was that Bisola had pressed record on her phone the moment Nkem opened her mouth. Every word she spoke, every arrogant confession, was captured. When Nkem finally turned to leave, smirking in victory, Bisola raised her phone. Not so fast. The recording played out loud, Nkem's own voice filling the room. Her smile vanished. Within days, the recording made its way to the right ears. Estate security confirmed their side of the story. Whispers spread through the city that Nkem's agency was involved in scandals. Clients quietly pulled back. The polished image she had built began to crumble. But for Tara, the damage was already done. Her marriage was scarred. Richard begged for forgiveness, admitted his mistakes, but Tara's trust was broken. She began making plans to move out temporarily with Maya, focusing on her business and her daughter's safety. She had even started packing a few bags, determined to put some distance between herself and the chaos. Amaka, though guilty, was spared. Bisola helped her brother get treatment, and Amaka left the city to start fresh. She carried scars of shame, but also relief that she had finally told the truth. But sometimes, revenge has a life of its own. Because even though Ninekem's voice recordings spread among estate officials, what no one expected was that a different video, the one Amaka had been pressured to film in secret, would escape in Kem's private archive. In the video, Richard and Amaka were caught in two close moments, twisted with captions that mocked Tara's marriage. That was the video that surfaced online, spreading faster than fire. And so, the collapse came sooner than Tara imagined. The following Sunday morning, the very walls of her life came crashing down. It began with whispers outside her gate. A video, cut and twisted, was already spreading like wildfire. Neighbors, strangers, even friends were forwarding it around. Inside the tall white house with tinted windows, Tara stood frozen in her silk robe, her heart in pieces. Her phone buzzed non-stop with calls she couldn't bear to answer. Across the living room, Richard paced back and forth, his hands pressed against his head as he muttered, "Why now? Why do this to me?" And Tara, staring at the phone, she didn't need to open the video to know her image, her marriage, her carefully built life had collapsed like glass. But elsewhere in Lagos, another woman sat in silence. Nkem, alone in her living room one night, lost in thought, feeling tired about the situation and regretting her actions. Her agency was crumbling. Clients had abandoned her. Her name was stained. She had thought revenge would heal her pain. Instead, it left her emptier than ever, because revenge may destroy others, but in the end, it also destroys the one who carries it. Moral of the story: your past will always return if you never make peace with it. Revenge does not heal pain, it multiplies it. Trust without truth is fragile, and when you build your home on lies, it only takes one shadow to bring down the walls. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more powerful tales like this. Give this video a thumbs up, and share your thoughts in the comments below.